You like to go big.
I do like to
You go big or go home?
I go big. I do go big or go home.
In terms of the actual design process and starting that off, obviously we've already, we might have sent over some, or we usually send over some creative routes or like some mood boards to the client, so we kind of get a good idea, the general kind of perhaps layout of an identity that they like, or equally web design as well. For some, we understand what sort of colours they like, or
you've got like a theme.
Yeah, there's a theme that's happened already, but obviously that's quite kind of, I always see that as quite like, just a bit of a starter point really for that, and I always feel there's quite a lot more to explore along from that. But yeah, basically just them kind of highlighting what they're sort of more attracted to there does give us a bit more of a direction. But in terms of actual like mediums and things to use, I do use Pinterest quite a bit. I just find though with things like that now, and I used to use Dribbble quite a lot, but I just find myself going down the rabbit hole with them a little bit. I feel that there's just so much stuff out there now.
Yeah, overstimulation.
Like it's almost a bit too much, almost a bit overwhelming. So I've actually been thinking lately of like, I just want to like dig out a real like timeless, like good book and just flick through that and just, kind of take my eyes off the screen, just kind of go old school on it and flick through a book like I guess designers used to do. I mean, it wasn't really in our generation that we were doing that much because we were kind of, websites, Behance has been around for ages. Yeah. Actually, Behance is a really good one as well, because you get to see the project in its entirety as well, which I find really helps.
A bit more context.
Yeah, exactly, because I think like Dribbble, Pinterest, it's just like single images. It's like, well...
It's quite curated, isn't it? People want to show like the best parts and the highlights, but you kind of want to see the...
See the behind the scenes, Yeah, I agree. And Dribble's kind of like fallen off recently. It's like,
don't know what's going on with that.
Templates and...
Ads and,
It doesn't seem real anymore. Doesn't seem like it's a real community anymore.
How would you describe Josh's style, like from an outside perspective? Like, do you think, because obviously Josh might picture it one way, but you might see his work and think that's so Josh. Like, does anything...
It's big.
...come out? Yeah.
Everything's a lot bigger.
Yeah. I feel like it's just like pure personality. Like when I see your work, it's like, it's written all over the design kind of thing. Like nothing is too subtle, like it's all laid out there, like in the best way as well. Like I think you take all of the best brand elements and kind of make them shine.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm flattered.
Yeah, there's definitely a uniqueness to it. I would say that as like if we were doing like a whole project, like from brand fully through to website, there would definitely be like an element of, I know that's a Josh design because he's pulled this out.
Okay, yeah.
You've taken something through that most people wouldn't, and it's then you've turned it into an asset which then can be used everywhere.
Yeah.
And you've got a real knack for doing that. Even on projects like on brand, you tend to pull out something and people are like, oh, I've never even thought about doing that. But it can be something simple like a shape.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Tiny thing, like that you can just pull through and it's just like echoing that brand throughout. I mean, at the end of the day, we're creating experiences for people, aren't we? So you want that experience to be as kind of coherent and consistent as you can. And by just, kind of reflecting even subtle, like, tiny little bits of the brand, just scattering them through. And obviously it's client dependent as well. Some clients might want a bit more of a louder kind of style. Others are may want a bit more subdued kind of experience. So then you sort of, it's about, I always think it's about striking the right balance between everything. So yeah, exactly. One thing, I never sort of like to have one thing that overrides the other. I feel like striking a good balance is what you want to aim for. Maddie, what about your style?
Personal style.
Yeah.
It's a tough one because I always look at like different aspects of design and like love them all individually for what they are. Like, when you start out and you think you have to find your niche and you have to follow one specific style, you're like, I want people to look at my work and go, oh yeah, that's definitely this. But I think I kind of want each project to stand alone and have its own kind of complete cohesive look and be diverse from one another. I don't like when I find like I've done a lot of work and then I look back at them and I think, oh, I've used the same thing there, or that's really, like certain practices I think are good to have consistent, but consistent like visual elements, sometimes you think I could have played with that a bit more, I could have taken that a bit further. But I guess I like doing it in quite a like subtle, minimal way.
There's always an aspect of being a designer where you see something, you're like, oh, that would work so well.
Yeah, you pick something out. You want to earmark it for that next one, and keep it in your back pocket. So yeah, I think like you were saying about like little touches, or you know, you're looking at the logo and it's got a little angle in it, and then you take that through to applying on imagery and blocks and stuff like that. It's just subtle little touch points throughout the experience that users might not even notice, but kind of under the surface they do, and it, you know, they feel at home in the design because everything has that little similarity.
You like to go big.
I do like to
You go big or go home?
I go big. I do go big or go home. I like big type, definitely.
Yes.
I feel like type's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which is just fantastic.
Good news for you.
Yeah, well, I think that the mobile first element of it is kind of like led the forefront on that. People design for mobile screens and then they kind of forget about desktop now. So the text just gets bigger and bigger and bigger with the more space it has to fill, which I absolutely adore. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I love like big images, big type, something like really impact. Like when you design a site for someone, you want that initial first glance, first impact. And I think that's where that comes from. You've got like say we've done the photography, even better. You know, we're gonna have some cracking photography to stick on the front of the website or a video. That initial impact, bang, and it looks like it shouts at your face.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you want.
Yeah.
Something really memorable. And then as you go down, you know, if we're like, speaking of like digital for websites, like as you scroll through the site, you've got elements moving or, you know, something that just, again, further down the site can slap you back in the face and be like, wow, I'm still on this website. That's what you want.
Yeah.
But hopefully, you know, it's still cohesive and tied together.
Yeah, but it's like a journey, isn't it? Like I think when you look at a flat website design and whatever software you're using, you're kind of looking at the full thing. And you fail to remember like what it feels like to land on it as a user and only see bit by bit as you go down the screen, like things entering. Or you did a design recently that when you look at it as the full picture, you might think, oh, I don't know how these elements are going to work, but it's more about as you scroll, you're introduced to this part and then this text comes in or that video starts playing, and it's more like an experience.
Exactly, yeah. And I think as users as well, like when we design, I think we tend to, you know, we're actually sort of designing in quite a linear fashion. You know, we'll start with the home page and then maybe another key page, but we kind of cycle. We do that, then we do this, and then we do that. You know, one after the other. Whereas a user's experience is completely different to that. They'll go to the home page. Well, they might not even go to the home page, depending on where they're coming from.
Yeah.
But they might go to the home page and then they might go over to, you know, like products or you know, or maybe they might go from home straight to contact. So. It's again really important to maintain that like cohesive feel with it all, to make sure that they know they're still there.
Yeah, because you don't want to override the homepage, right? People aren't even going to see it, so you need to make sure that those elements are still somewhere else.
Yeah. I feel like you're getting really you're introducing a lot of like experimental type as well. Like I always see a lot of your designs, like you're choosing some really unique typefaces, you know, new ones. I'm like, where do you find that? Where do you get that one from? You know,
push the boundaries on for the perfect font for every client all the time.
Yes. How do you go about that?
I mean, Google Fonts library is pretty comprehensive now, but you know, some of them have, you know, lived and died now.
Yeah, they have.
Some of the more popular ones. So there's definitely like a few other like little foundries out there that are putting out free typefaces for commercial use, which is really useful because people just don't understand the, you know, price around actually paying for a font family.
Yeah.
Which, like, as a client, like why would you? Like understand that, but they can be like quite expensive. So finding like a free one is like essential for that. But yeah, I think like I think type in general, not that it hasn't always been pushed, but feels like there are more typefaces that have these little quirks than ever.
Yeah.
Whether it's like, you know, the curvature of an arm or a bowl or a counter, you know, you've got lots of different bits and bobs happening. Or like the ink traps was quite a popular one maybe last year.
Yeah.
Being like slightly overextended to give that more character. And it's just can be a very good way, or a relatively simple way of expressing a brand's personality quite quickly and simply through type, which is why it's, you know, something I probably spend too much time on. at the beginning of the project.
Well, let's talk about the delivery of a brand or website piece of work to a client. So I think it's really important within the delivery of that presentation, whether it be, online or whether it's face to face. It's important to basically take them through that entire thought process. We're not just kind of handing over a document or presenting them a document and saying, this is what we've done, hope you like it. It's about kind of really breaking it down, like step by step. We take them through the concept or each of the concepts, give a little bit of background thought process to each concept. And yeah, just making sure that we're kind of reiterating things that the client has said, either from the workshop or throughout that process, feeding back to them things that they, even things that they've said, things that we've extracted. We've done X because of X, or because, you guys stated this. So I think when clients hear that, they just feel listened to. They feel like, we're sort of, part of their company. It's almost like we're their internal design team for this project and for, ongoing projects. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's about just applying as much context as you can.
Yeah.
Like really, like you said, taking them on that journey through, this was the information that we gathered. These are the reasons behind like the decisions we've made. Like come along on this journey. And it's also like a real good chance to just re-engage with them and just make sure that, everything that we spoke about is still relevant in their minds.
So yeah, I really love, once we've done either a web design piece or a brand piece, I love presenting it to the client. I love being able to talk through the rationale behind all the decisions. I think it kind of shows that we've listened to them and we've had those conversations with them, and there's that mutual understanding that we're trying to get to come through in what we've created. Because I think the ultimate goal is, if it rings through for the client and for us, then hopefully it will for their audience as well. So yeah, I think outlining the sort of details behind it is important.
Yeah, because you want to nail it.
Yeah.
For them and for you, right?
Yeah, we're passionate about that. So passionate about that. I love delivering the, the branding, the presentation docs or the concepts, and taking them through, talking about that thought process. This is why we've done that. Reiterating things that they've said.
Yeah, because they're taking risks.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Yeah.
Any like project they undertake is a huge risk for them.
Yeah.
And like you want to make sure that you're delivering as much as you can for the project and for them.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was going to say, certain routes might be quite drastically different to what they've already done or what they're expecting. So the more kind of context you can provide, like the more they might buy into that different approach.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because we like to, obviously we stick to the, we stick to the brief, but we're there to also, help them out and perhaps push them in certain directions that they may not have thought about before. So within our sort of concept options, we'll always ensure that we've got like quite a diverse range of ideas going on. They're still aligned with what they've said, but some may take that sort of a step further. It's better to go all out and kind of rein it in a bit than it is to not.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Not push it.
Like push it initially, push it as far as you can, and then dial it back down.
Yeah. But I mean, the client, they love it, don't they? They absolutely love it, and we love it as well. It's such a nice feeling when you've delivered the document, which we usually just run through it all, and then we just have a little chat afterwards. What's their initial thoughts, and sometimes they're like, wow, really, they just. We're not really sure what their expectations are at that point, but they're just the feedback we get is great and warms your heart.
Yeah, it's nice towards the end, especially when we're showing them like different applications of ideas that we've done. I think it gets them really excited to see it in the real world and not just in sort of like flat scenarios or on the screen, whether it's like a poster or a billboard or someone looking at the site design on their phone. It kind of makes it a little bit more real.
Yeah. Keep exciting them.
So much excitement.